Hey YouTube, this is Chaplain Betalanga, and this is Keep Calm and Call the Chaplain, where we talk about all things spiritual care practice. Welcome to my channel. Before we begin, if you haven't done so, I invite you to like this video and subscribe to my channel. You are our honored guests. You may have seen my recent video called The Scene Breakdown from the Pit, Part 1. If you haven't seen it, please check it out since this is Part 2 to that episode. Within professional chaplaincy, there's an expression called the living human document. And this expression has its origins from Anton Boysen, the pioneer founder of the clinical pastoral education movement, which would later be the type of training for professional chaplains. Now, this expression has its origins from the mid to early 1920s when Anton Boysen talked about the importance of clergy studying not just books in a classroom, but putting that study into practice in the real world, working with people. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, professional chaplaincy really takes to heart the living human document, because the living human document is comprised of our sacred story, of our values, our beliefs, our experiences, our thoughts, how we make meaning in the world. It's comprised of all of the sacred things that make us uniquely human. And spiritual care practice also takes into account the fact that we as providers also have our own living human document that is just as present in every interaction that we have. Now, I bring this up because since this is a channel all about spiritual care practice, where I give the what, the why, and the how of professional chaplaincy, I want to talk about something that came up within my living human document when I hit send on this last episode. In the last video, I referenced the fact that the provider, the medical provider, offered a Hawaiian ritual for saying goodbye that he was taught by a teacher of his. After I finished the episode, I noticed that I had some energy within my own living human document around this ritual. And as I mentioned, spiritual care providers are trained to pay close attention to these things that come up within us, because they tell a very important story about things that we care about deeply. They tell a very important story about what's taking place in the moment and what does it connect to within our past, within our experiences, within our practice. So naturally, I reflected on the energy that I had around this particular scene. And on reflection, I discovered that I connected this ritual with a spiritual intervention that I have conducted many times, and that intervention is called confession. What the doctor did here is a type of confession. Confession isn't always religious in nature, but all confessions have an element of saying something important that needs to be said in order to unburden oneself before moving forward. As spiritual care providers, we conduct spiritual assessments, and that's based off of data, that's based off of background and interactions, spiritual explorations, and so on. And so sometimes, based off of our spiritual assessment, sometimes what's needed in the moment is confession. And it's curious that I connected the two, but on reflection, they do share some striking similarities. In fact, in the ritual, the 4 parts to it: I love you, thank you, I forgive you, do you forgive me? In thinking and replaying the many confessions that I have listened to, and again, not necessarily religious confessions, and even in my own distinct religious practice, we don't really have a practice of clergy and lay person confession. But even then, these types of conversations of needing to be unburdened and needing to talk about some guilt or shame that's taken place in the past, I consider those as confessions. And And so as I look at the 4 parts to it, I love you, thank you, I forgive you, do you forgive me? I can think of several conversations that included needing to say I love you. But saying I love you can be quite complicated, and in fact, perhaps vast amounts of time went by without the individual expressing their love to someone else. But now they feel a sense of urgency because of what's happened, or because of a diagnosis, or maybe because of some other factor. And so now they want to say I love you, but it's in a type of confession where they talk about their faults, and they talk about how ashamed that they are of either how they parented, or ashamed of maybe missing very important experiences. And sometimes it comes out in the form of shame and guilt, but really what it is it's an individual who's just simply wanting to say I love you. Sometimes it's a conversation where the help seeker needs to say thank you. I can recall many conversations that I've had, especially end of life care, where I was present and I had the honor of bearing witness to some of these conversations. And sometimes they took the form of going back in the past and talking about moments when loved ones were needed, and they received help from either their significant other or family members. And these are very special conversations because in the room you get this sense that they all know what's taking place. It's almost like they were all in a moment transported to moments in time in the past of their living human documents, and it's almost like they turn right to the exact moment in the living document, and they're replaying these special times, and really those memories are a way of saying thank you. And other times, these conversations involve asking for forgiveness, and those are quite difficult, and can also come with incredibly difficult emotions. But these are conversations that need to take place, and sometimes these conversations involve asking others. On reflection, I realized that I had some energy around this one particular moment that I didn't really get into in the last episode. But since spiritual care providers, since we pay close attention to what takes place within us, and we ask ourselves why is this the case? How is this connected to my own practice? How is this connected to my own experiences in the past? I thought I would share this with you because, again, Keep Calm and Call the Chaplain is all about spiritual care practice. So in closing, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments section about what's come up. What questions do you have about spiritual care practice? Again, this is Chaplain Berlanga. Thank you for checking out my channel. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this where we talk about all things spiritual care practice. Until next time, thank you for being you, and thank you for honoring me with your presence.